everybody, if you're on here. Give me a minute. Alright, can you guys hear me? What's up, everybody, if you're on here? Give me a minute. Cool, that worked. Alright, there we go. Alright, I got Dan here. Hold on, let me add you, Dan. It says can't bring Dan on camera. They can't join the broadcast at this time. Oh, Dan, are you on your phone? You gotta go on your phone. You can't be on the computer. Alright, let's try to add you again. Here we go. Why? Because it's telling me I can't add you. It's telling me I can't add you. Are you on your phone? This can't bring Dan on camera. They can't join the broadcast at this time, and it doesn't tell me why. Yeah, we're friends on Facebook. It's showing me, it says tap any viewer, invite them to be in your broadcast, and it's showing me I'm right here and it's on, but it's saying all right, connect interview. There we go. What's up, Dan?
Oh, how's it going?
That was good. Let me turn down my volume. All right, you there?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I'm turning down the volume. All right, everybody. CCT. This is Todd, and on here live with Dan. Is it Gailey? Am I saying that correctly?
It's Gailey.
Gailey.
Gailey. Yeah.
Okay, Dan Gailey from Synapse AI. And real quick before we get started, so everybody knows, this is not financial advice. This is not us endorsing it. CCT is not endorsing this ICO. 51% crew, me personally, but we wanted to bring Dan on here and obviously, let the community find out some information on what's going on. We might have something good here. And, we're not trying to sell you anything or anything like that. We're just trying to bring you information. And obviously, so you can make an educated decision if you want to participate in this ICO. So, Dan, tell us, what is Synapse?
Yeah, Synapse is an awesome project with an awesome history. I'd say right now the short of it is it's a network that allows basically for resource allocation. And one of the ways that we talk about that is within the narrative of acquiring data from firms, from people, from institutions, anyone that wants to participate, and allowing them to basically buy and sell their data to train machine learning models, right? Like that's the first step.
Okay.
So because we are built on Ethereum, and because you can basically create programmatic access, you can go ahead and in turn, as part of this network, take those same models, that same automation, and announce it as a server, right? So you can have bots, kind of not just humans contracting out machine learning through their applications contracting out machine learning. You can have bots or autonomous agents contracting out one another to kind of grow and learn together. Like ultimately, that's what it's about.
Okay, so
I know it's a mouthful, right?
Yeah, let's make it clear then. Okay,
yeah.
What exactly is machine learning, though?
Right. So machine learning is a lot of different things simultaneously, but ultimately it falls under this domain of AI. And machine learning specifically in this context is the ability to find some repeatable signal in some data, right? And model that signal with some kind of predictive outcome, like either it's classification or it's like natural language processing, or it's something more like deep learning where you're doing feature selection, and that's kind of like your machine learning is kind of its namesake, right? You're learning and building an algorithm, building a model of the underlying data to understand it.
Okay. Well, what does it mean when a machine can own money? Like, what's that mean?
Right. So you have the machine learning models, right? And
Hmm.
let's say that I'm a bot and I'm transacting with other bots, and I have the ability to allocate resources across the network. So I think this is a more of a philosophical question about when you have bots that have agency and they're able to participate on the network to allocate resources on their own autonomously, and do they own the money that they generate by facilitating transactions across the network? And when they start transacting with one another and allocating resources and optimizing not just locally but globally, and starting to shift economies ultimately, like what is money even begin? Like what does money mean in that in that world? So what does it mean when machines have money? I think what it fundamentally means is they get to optimize how they see fit, right, on a global scale and move whole economies, not just with humans, but without.
Okay. Well, how would this machine in turn generate money?
So just as like some machines generate money now, there's plenty of places where their, I guess, input or work is required. And because you have something called data lineage, right, provenance through the blockchain, and because we're talking about a network that essentially, where you're able to record everyone's access to every resource on the network, you can create this chain of knowledge, right? In order to accomplish some goal, you have to go through a bunch of different tasks, and each task can be optimized. And if you can build some automation, some algorithm to identify where to make optimizations, you can start finding new paths to those directives and goals, and new optimizations. So I think that's how machines are going to be making money, is by observing what's happening now and finding shortcuts and optimizations to find not just how to produce things cheaper, but also perhaps using the models of humanity to build new and interesting products.
Okay. Give me an example of something that the end user would have here in a real world application for this.
Yeah, so I just got my whole genome sequenced, right? It's pretty
Hmm.
cool. If you haven't done it, you should try it. It basically tells me not just things about my cultural background and my ethnic background, but it also told me things that are more emergent, like properties like how I participate socially by, I'm sensitive to people that chew with their mouths open, these types of things, right? And
Hmm.
that data, those outcomes, that knowledge comes from understanding the underlying data. So being able to map genotype to phenotype to more emergent qualities is kind of something that gives rise to this insight to help us understand who we are better. How people are going to participate on that in the future is in several different ways. So you have the most obvious way, which is there's going to be an application where you're able to participate to sell the data that you have and that you're participating in on like Amazon, Facebook, through your bank, your transactional data, things like this. And basically next to your battery meter, what you'll see is how much money per minute that you're making by almost just by being alive, essentially. The second way is once we have that information and once we have that what would be considered an access control list running through every application on our device, it'll happen seamlessly. So not only will we be able to provide data ambiently, right, without our knowledge, but we'll also be able to kind of power intelligent applications. So that's one way that people will do it. Another way that's passive is, you kind of have to, this is almost a stretch of your imagination, where you kind of have to start thinking about how we interact with the world. And as sensors get cheaper and, more prolific, we'll start seeing more passive engagement with sensors in the world all around us. And so you could be collecting data and interacting with things without knowing it. So that's part of a bigger idea or bigger topic called ambient intelligence, where there's this kind of layer of AI that runs through everything, and everything's constantly quantifying what we're doing and trying to not just predict what we want next, but also influence us, right? Mm-hmm. So those are some big things on how end users will potentially engage with this. But in the intermediary, they'll be participating. We're building a wallet that basically acts as not just a common wallet, but also acts as a way for people to explore applications built on top of the network as well, right? And how they can engage in the network.
This is almost a little bit scary, actually. Like, how much of our privacy is going to be out there? Like, one of the questions came up in the group that, I put a little bit of thought into. It was like, it says, what kind of depth of privacy settings would the data seller be able to adjust? For example, Amazon could choose to share what I purchased, yet not what I searched for. And would a data seller have the option to sell data anonymously? Like, how much privacy are we losing in our lives here with this? Because it's almost a little bit scary. I mean, maybe some of that, being scared is, not being educated in the topic some also, but, it's also kind of scary to have all your information out there at the same time.
Yeah, I think two things. One, there are more privacy laws that are going to be coming up that companies will have to participate in order to just stay legal. So surfacing the knowledge of what data you're giving to them as well as how they're using it will become just a law. But in the intermediary, one of the things that blockchain actually enables, since what you're doing is you're writing every transaction, whether that's money or it could be resources, access to resources, whatever it is. One of the things that you're able to do is actually see in a very transparent way how people are engaging with what you're selling or how you're participating on the network. And ultimately, what this network provides is the ability to take the power back so that you control how companies are able to use and participate in kind of what you're providing them.
Because I don't know if you know this, but one of my companies I own, I'm a licensed private investigator. So we deal with a lot of like data brokers, and I'm sure they purchase a lot of this data so we can get current information and locate people. So would this be a field that you would approach to sell this type of information to, or how would that work?
I think there's a lot of, I think there's a lot more happening among data markets than we realize.
I know there is. Yeah.
Right. And I think that this is getting people to participate in this network is I think one of the first steps to unifying that in a very decentralized way, if that makes sense, where you can actually build a global network, a global marketplace for these things to exist. And so what you'll see is, I think you'll have even more accurate information if you choose to participate in that way. And perhaps the more data points that you could correlate, the higher the value of that data becomes.
Okay. So it's basically bringing it all together. I'm following you here. I'm not exactly a tech guy. I'm a trader, but I wanted to get this information out to everybody. Let's talk about a little bit of like, the ICO and everything and the actual coin itself. Will there be master nodes and will it be proof of work or proof of stake, or how's that going to work?
So, yes, there will be master nodes. There will be the opportunity for some technical responsibility on the network to be delegated out to third parties, trusted parties who stake their coins to participate in order to demonstrate that they're good actors on the network. Mm-hmm. Proof of stake is a little bit easier when you're talking about bonding services and things like this, and reputation systems. Proof of work will come in later when we need to scale in a very distributed manner. So when we're talking about distributed resources like storage and compute and these things, different models of like proof of work and staking will be important.
Okay. I'm going to refer to actually one of the questions from one of the people in the group. Let me read this one to you. This one's not mine. It says, if you could dot point why your tech and or coin is a game changer above the competitors, how would you do it? That question makes sense?
Certainly. So, we were kind of one of the first OGs of this. I think I got started in Bitcoin in 2011, worked in venture capital in 2013, doing deal flow for crypto companies, right? I went to the first Bitcoin conference in San Jose and have been pretty much in it since then. To go from that, as well as like simultaneously my background's in electrical engineering and autonomous robotics and computational chemistry, and understanding what data works and how to build models around that data, and marrying the two ideas where you have you're starting to think about automation and what cryptocurrency can start unlocking, as well as what blockchain provides. And you're now starting to talk about this new thing called AI plus blockchain, which when we started was crazy. Like our first attempt at this was forking Bitcoin, and this was like 2015. And we were trying to get people interested in it, and they were just like, back then, going to my nerdier friends, and they were just like, we have no idea what Bitcoin is, right? So I think that we kind of helped lay the groundwork for kind of everything that everyone's pitching now. So I'm happy that we inspired a lot of great people, and I think ultimately there's a lot of complementary technologies out there that will facilitate particular verticals, like in medicine, like in IoT, things like this. And ultimately, what we're all building is the capacity for these networks to kind of work together, right? You would look at our network as kind of the Twilio for like data and machine learning and automation training. And you could leverage our network to build even more I guess, more verticalized instances of these things to exist.
So we're building the Skynet here. We're in trouble, huh?
Well, that's not the first time we've been compared to Skynet. At least it's getting built by good people, right?
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you're coming from. I'm obviously not in this whole like tech industry, but it's starting to piece together for me what you're saying and everything. So hopefully, this is going to give people a better idea of, what's going on. That was like kind of the point of this video. Is there anything you want to add to it? I know you've been talking a lot. I mean, is there like a sales pitch or anything, or like, anything you want to go with there? Anything off the top of your head?
I think ultimately, this is really about the future of work, right? And what it means to be human in the age of automation. And I think it's important that people get access to not just participate in training future automation, but also rewarded for doing that, right? Which is kind of one of our big philosophies is like, how do we get everyone to participate and be rewarded equally and compensated equally? And once that automation is trained, once those machine learning models are trained, like how do we get rewarded in perpetuity, right? If we're training these things to put us out of jobs, we should get paid to be put out of those jobs, right? And because you have a decentralized network now, anyone, anywhere can participate in building these models. So you can create something that's more robust and more representative than what's previously existed in any one particular company. So you can almost think about it as like humans are this part of the network that go to train huge, massive, like a huge, massive global brain, in essence, that has kind of agency and resources in the real world as well. So, you know, it's coming, and happy to be building it, actually. Yeah.
That's cool. Let's talk a little bit about your team. I see one of the questions was, it says Jackson Palmer is an advisor in the white paper, but it says curious to his input so far and what role he plays in the future. And who else is on your team? Like, is there anybody that, you know, community will know or you want to talk about, you know, you got working?
Yeah, so Jackson is actually a really good friend of ours. He's local to the Bay Area, has been in the crypto for a long time, and we were looking, when I worked in venture capital, we were looking at Doge as honestly one of the biggest coins that had a utility. Like, people were actually using it to tip each other because it was so cheap, which means it was actually getting used, right? It wasn't just getting speculated on. And Jackson has always been really kind of no BS and super interested in what works and really loudly opposed to what doesn't. So using him as kind of this measuring stick of like, you know, does this sound right? And you know, just having more people like that like, I guess are good actors in the community, right? So that's kind of Jackson's role, is to like basically help us understand, keep us in line, and act as a sounding board for you know, things we need, right? I mean, he's an awesome advisor. As for the team, I'm the technical CEO. My background's in electrical engineering, like I said before, computational chemistry. At one point, I built sensors for detecting nuclear weapons testing all around the world, and some other fun stuff that I probably can't talk about. And have been interested in AI and machine learning since, you know, I was in college. And so yeah, that's my role at the company, is basically like laying down the vision, building out the product and projects, and kind of building out that roadmap. We have some engineers on board who work on the blockchain tech, either that's like digesting stuff and indexing it for the ICO, or helping us understand, you know, the capacity at which this infrastructure can scale. And we also have a bunch of awesome community leaders, community managers, and we have some new advisors coming on. One from a pretty big blockchain company. They'd be a technical advisor. And we have two pretty big names coming up, but I can't really talk about that until the deal has been signed.
Yeah, I understand.
We have partnerships coming out too, which is kind of awesome. Two of which are companies that people kind of use every day. So that's pretty awesome. Again, we'll make those announcements, and
completely.
Yeah, still building the product. Yeah.
Okay, here's one for you. On a scale of 1 to 10, how difficult do you see it for yourself to accomplish your goals and get the end result that you want? Like the difficulty of what you're doing.
It comes down to, I think, ultimately finding partnerships, and if not, building out that entire tech stack, right? So this wasn't an easy idea for me to come about. It wasn't like, I just decided to wake up one day and like, that's what I'm going to do, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is actually a long journey to get here, and it's going to be a long journey to finish this. And I've dedicated the rest of my life to pursue this vision and to make sure that it is fulfilled, at least, if not to completion, to a level where other people can take my work and continue towards that vision.
Okay. So you see this, going in the scope of 10, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, in other words, is what you're saying. And it'll just continue on.
I think if we're able to change things the way we want them, which I 100% believe we are, then it'll only be such a cool future that we're building towards. It'll be the only thing I want to do for the rest of my life.
Okay. Well, how do you keep people from, say, abusing this information and this power? Like,
yeah. So we talked about this a little bit earlier. It'll be it'll be illegal to abuse it. I think that's coming with things like GDPR, but bad actors. How do you prevent bad actors from abusing
Yeah, I got
right?
that. Like, but just because something's illegal doesn't mean people do it. Like, like just because there's a law, that's like saying, hey, it's against the law to go speeding down the road, but look how many people speed.
It'll be prohibitively expensive. It'll be, I could say a number of things, but I come from a hacking kind of background. It was my kind of my adolescence was spent in the underground security scene. And so I know that if there's a way for people to participate poorly in a system and exploit a system, right, then there will be people that do it. And so what's to prevent them? We could say security. We could say it'll be cost prohibitive to exploit this on a massive scale. We could say any number of things, but what it comes down to ultimately is how secure can we make our data, and how secure can we make those systems that support that data, right? Or those resources, or this automation, right? So that's probably the best answer I can give. As long as we have systems that are exploitable, the best thing we can do as people is converge on making that system as secure as possible.
Okay. Let's check and see. There's a couple questions. I'm just flipping back to my email when I was speaking to Catherine.
What's crazy is in the last 2.5 days, we've been kind of blowing up. We've gone. We've actually had 50,000 new users in the last 2 days.
Wow.
Yeah, and I just checked earlier today, and we've had now 70. So, yeah.
So that's kind of out of the ordinary, though. Do you suspect that could be a bot or something?
No, I definitely 100% have seen all the patterns and have identified all the bots and have completely destroyed pretty much all the bots. I shouldn't say that because that just incentivizes people to try to beat my system. So it's constantly cat and mouse, but we're doing a pretty good job of preventing that to happen.
Okay. Yeah. That's the first thing, if I seen something that wasn't, natural or something, I would a little
100%, right? Yeah.
Yeah, a little suspicious of it. Okay, we covered that. It says what me? I'm just reading through these questions here.
Sure.
Did you answer this one? What makes it different from other AI projects, and how their AI is different from a program?
Yeah, I read that.
Yeah, you covered
question.
that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think. Did you say would data sellers be able to sell this data anonymously? I don't think we caught that part of this question. That's like part 2 of it.
Yeah, I think that there's a ton of opportunities for secondary markets to come up around people that collect data and correlate data and filter that data and make sense of it in new business for new businesses or in new ways for businesses. I think there's a whole new economies that can be just data around data science, right? Around making sense of this data and then reselling that data. But again, because we have provenance and data lineage, you know where it's going.
Okay. Eric keeps asking me this question. He says, did you ask why the ICO is such a long time frame? So why is the ICO taking so long? Like, what was your thought behind that?
So this was our thought. This is a big idea. This is kind of really hard for us to articulate, right? We have to say like, okay, well, it's data and it's automation and it's all these things. And so instead of just going like really hard and being like an overnight kind of ICO flash in the pan thing, we wanted to build momentum, build community, build product, really demonstrate that we're here to build what we say we're here to build, which is why we're doing it in tiers, right? So with the marketplace is done, we're launching a developer program around that and a developer fund around that. We're working on the wallets right now. And so we're actually building product, right? It's not just like, oh, we're going to raise a bunch of money and then disappear. And I think that was kind of one of the things we wanted to demonstrate by bringing the ICO, breaking it up into tiers so that people can participate and follow along and join the community and help us build a product.
Okay. Yeah, I see Joe's asking this question. I was just about to ask this myself since we're on the ICO topic. Is this open to U.S. investors, Singapore, Chinese investors? Like, who's the ICO open to? I mean, obviously, we have all these new surety laws coming down the pipe in the U.S. So how are you handling that situation?
Yeah, so we classify everyone that comes in as like what country they're from, how they're participating, whether or not they're accredited, KYC is going to happen. And so for us, we're looking to participate in any guidance that comes down the pipeline, right? So as that develops, we'll have everyone classified to participate in legal ways.
Okay. Pretty much covered my questions about it. Let's see. Is there any questions that the community has or anything? Or he said, when is the ICO running? The ICO is running now. Looks like Karen is posting away. I can only see the last 4 comments, so this sucks. It's like Facebook always does this to me. Maybe I can roll through here. Let's see. Re-interview.
Yeah, we were just at the Decentralized AI Summit, along with companies like Google, Amazon, Samsung, Slack. I mean, like, everyone was out, right? And everyone's thinking about this future that we're building towards and how they can participate in the ecosystem. I have huge companies that have built entire teams that are AI blockchain teams just to come out and talk to me about this and how they can participate in the ecosystem. So it's here, and it's also going to be such a huge part of our lives that these giant companies are figuring out how to get in now, which is such a strong signal for me personally as like an innovator or builder that I've really, frankly, have never seen before, right?
Okay. What's your theory behind these airdrops? I mean, is that just to get the involvement of the community and get yourself out there? Like, why are you doing the airdrop thing?
Yeah, I think part of it is really the philosophy behind allowing people to participate in the network that otherwise can't. We have minimum participation requirements for the ICO, and just to give them something that they can have and that they feel a part of what's coming next, right? It gets people involved in thinking about it and reading about it and really trying to understand what's out there.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, I figured it was something along the lines of that. Let's see. We got any questions from the community that we didn't cover? This is SEC. All right, I'm trying to flip back through these.
Somebody said, is it a security since it's supposed to end up paying out dividends? We don't pay out dividends. I don't know where that came from. So if they let me know where they found that, I'd be happy to address.
See any other questions that we missed?
Scrolling back through.
Yeah, I just want to make sure we got
Every interview brings up Skynet.
I've seen that. Well, the reason I asked is Ether changes in price that affects people who possibly waited to invest. Yeah. I'm guessing a security since it's disposed. Yeah, where's this dividend thing coming from? Is that just a rumor or something?
Yeah, this is the first time I've seen that. We've never talked about that. We've never been a part of that. So,
okay. Here was a question though. It says, what strategy do you have to save it from a massive dump that when it hits the market? I mean, obviously, I'm a trader. I know what's going on, and you can't prevent that 100%. But
yeah.
they're using examples for other AI projects such as Singularity and Swissborg and stuff like that. Apparently, I didn't look into that. I mean, they must have dumped when they hit the market. I'm not sure. Is there anything you have, preventive measures for that?
I mean, that's so difficult unless it's baked into the contract itself or the terms by which, like, if you had early purchasers or advisors and their terms and how they're getting dispersed over time. Otherwise, you're so subject to market forces that and I think ultimately, like, the best thing that they can do, and I remember that comment because it said that these companies will never produce a product, or they're just like whatever. It spoke poorly of these companies, and the reason why they crashed is because they're not producing anything. And that's kind of the reason why we're building things, right? Is so that we can, like, when they do hit the market, there's a reason to have these tokens, right? And to participate on the network.
Yeah, well, that's good because unfortunately, we live in our community seems to, they want things like they can touch them, and like have like little apps and like play with stuff and like, look cool. Like, it's weird. Like, the market will take off and do 30% because somebody made an app, like, but the app's completely like useless, but it's like but they made it. So I'm just, little, because see, this is very like, obviously I don't understand it 100%. I mean, I understand what you're saying, but, obviously it's not my background. So, when you design something like this, it's hard for people to understand, but it sounds pretty cool though. I mean,
I like into it. Go ahead. Besides the whole Skynet thing.
That's all. Besides the whole Skynet thing taking over.
And this is how I look at it, right? It's like, I imagine that it was real hard to talk about the internet when that was getting built, and like real hard to convince people that network computers were important, and then like even harder to kind of extrapolate from what has been built to predict things like Facebook's and Amazon's and how it truly affected the world. And I think a lot of the magic lies in the potential that the potential for opportunity for change and disruption, right? So that's why I'm super excited to build it. Ultimately, I think that's what it comes down to. Is it has the capacity to change a lot of things simultaneously with a single stroke, right? And that's huge for me. So
there's a question. How much bonuses was given to pre-sale investors? Did you give any type of discount out for your initial investors or your large investors in the beginning, or was that no?
So each tier has its own discount. So if you got in earlier, you were rewarded earlier, only because we were trying to get the word out there and get people interested in the network and what we're building. So if they took the risk, they got the reward, basically.
So there was no like pre-ICO sales or anything like that?
There's always discounts, right? Depending on how early you're getting in.
Okay. Because I get approached all the time by companies like that. I was just curious. There's another question. Where to go? It says, what is the first thing service you're going to build for the community?
Yeah, what is the first thing service that we're going to build for the community? Well, it's once the marketplace is in service, once the wallets are launched, that essentially is the bedrock, right? Which everything else will be built upon. And so then it's phased in going out and getting data sellers on board, as well as machine learning as a platform services, and getting companies to participate by integrating us into their service. Like we have a genetics company that wants to integrate our service into theirs so that people can get their genome sequence and then turn around and sell that for pharmaceutical research, for academic research, and some of that money can go to offset the cost of actually getting that done, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the money generated from selling that data.
What are some time frames we're looking at here as far as like, getting a wallet out and just like the basic things to like, like you said, get your bedrock going?
Yeah, so the marketplace is already built. I'm a Solidity developer. Well, I'm just a hardcore hacker, I'll be honest. The wallet is actually getting built right now, and we'll probably see an alpha release in the next 3 weeks here.
Okay.
And then it's just about iterating with the community beyond that and figuring out features that people want and then developing and making those applications and services more robust.
Okay. And so next couple of weeks, we'll be seeing a wallet, basically.
Yep. We'd like to get a wallet out before the end of the ICO so that people
that would
can participate
be cool.
in the network. Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely kind of needed. I seen another question. I think we covered that one now. Hold on. What's Ash saying? What's up, Ash? Let me see if... Man, can you see Ash's question? It's like a mile long.
Maybe you'll be able to see this past all of the marketing spam, but how do you see your current complement of partial, ongoing, non-successful exited projects working into the full-time schedule of running projects like Synapse, Radbots, Backer, TechEndo? How do you feel about the mini crypto vets who see anything promising in AI and then it cuts off for me? Yeah, so I'll be honest, like I build stuff, like that's what I do. And for the first time, every step of this project has just like taken off. And I think that's kind of just the path, right? Like I go through and I identify what works and what doesn't, and slowly we learn over time how to build more successful products. And I think that is kind of an answer to that question. So ongoing projects, like Backer, TechEndo, those things kind of run on their own. Radbots evolved into Synapse. Synapse actually came out of something called Asteria, and it was a wearable bot platform, right? So my background's in electrical engineering. I was prototyping a wearable bot platform and built the device client architecture, built the background, the back-end software, built the synchronization software, and then like tried to go pitch it to people saying, oh, well, one day you'll be born with like an AI assistant, and you'll use crypto to transact, and it'll transact for you. And the data that it collects from you by learning you will go to be a part of this network. And so we like pitched that out, and people didn't understand it, so we basically abstracted all of that out and put it into Synapse. So, yeah.
Gotcha. She also, the part you couldn't read is, how does this differ from the promises pushed by Singularity Net?
Yeah. So
I'm not familiar with them.
They were actually early community members of ours on our Slack channel. And I said this before, and I'm really happy that a lot of people were inspired by the work that we did and decided to launch their own projects. So I think it's more or less, how are they different from us than the other way around. So.
Okay. Well, I don't even know who they are. I don't follow all these that much.
Yeah.
So hopefully Ash got an answer to her question. Anything else? Let's see. Kind of just winging it here, trying to get everybody their answers. Did we miss any? No, I think we got them all.
Yeah.
Except for, well, we went over them. You said the main differences between compared to Synapse, DBC, AGI, and Botos.
Yeah, I mean, all of those have. I, I could like sit here all day and talk about
Yeah.
the differences and like the different verticals that they're attacking and things like that. I mean, I think
Yeah.
we pretty much covered that.
Yeah, I didn't really. I was about just to cut you off and say, I really didn't come on here to like, talk about the other projects. I kind of wanted to like give you the opportunity to address the community and stuff like that. So,
Yeah,
we'll kind of redact that one a little bit. Let's see. Well, I think we got them all covered pretty much.
cool.
Anything you want to say in closing or anything? I mean, I appreciate your time coming on. Took 40 minutes
Yeah,
of your night out and give us some information here at CCT.
it's all right. I love talking to people about this stuff.
Yeah, I thought it'd be cool to do on a Sunday night. I don't mind doing these interviews, and hopefully everybody, that's interested in your project, and hopefully they gain something out of this video.
Yeah, absolutely. And we have a lot of your community that's participates in our Telegram channel and vice versa.
Yeah.
So it's just like, it's nice to see people coming out. And one of the best things about crypto is I think it brings a lot of open-minded people out
Oh,
thinking,
absolutely.
how can this be applied, right? And it's been really nice, and it's been wonderful building with the community out here. So, yeah, thanks for
Yeah.
having me on the channel.
Yeah, Karen and Catherine reached out to me. I was like, yeah, sure. I don't mind. I like doing my Sunday interviews and live shows or whatever. It's either that or hopefully I don't miss The Walking Dead. I think it comes back out tonight. No, it comes back out tonight. Yeah, I think tonight's their premiere back. So, but,
okay. Well,
I
I'll be
always catch the
watching it
rerun.
Yeah,
Cool.
right on. Cool.
So, like I said, appreciate you taking the time. I think Catherine, she gave us a bunch of useful information here once the video uploads. I'm going to go ahead and download this and drop it on the YouTube channel too. And I'll share that on Twitter. If you want to share the link around or whatever, it'll be in a link format because this can only be seen by CCT members. So feel free to use the link from the YouTube channel. And if you want to put that out there, then you're more than welcome to use it.
Wonderful. Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. Any last thoughts? You good?
Hack the planet and be excellent to each other.
Awesome, man. All right. Well, thank you for your time. I guess we'll wrap this up, man. I'll talk to you later. Yeah. See ya.
Thanks. See ya.
Well, there you have it, CCT. Another interview down. So, hopefully you guys got what you needed out of that. I didn't waste your time. We didn't waste your time, but that's what we got for you. So I'm gonna end this up and wrap this up. Go get me a shower and watch The Walking Dead. So I'll catch you guys around. Thanks for joining in. How do I turn this on?